Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the English Daily Book Summary YouTube channel. In order to not stop learning, listen to an English book summary every day for free.
The Epic of Gilgamesh. Imagine holding a broken piece of clay no bigger than a deck of cards. Now picture thousands of these fragments, each etched with lines of a story older than the pyramids. This is how the Epic of Gilgamesh was rediscovered, humanity's oldest written tale pieced back together from the dust of ancient ruins. The world it describes feels almost unrecognizable, filled with magical gardens, haunted mountains, and gods who walk among men. Yet somehow, across thousands of years, it still speaks to the same hopes, fears, and questions we wrestle with today. Gilgamesh, a young king blessed with superhuman strength and beauty, begins his story not as a classical hero, but as a feared tyrant. His journey from power and pride to loss and hard-won wisdom marks a turning point in human storytelling, capturing the shift from oral tradition to written word. Buried in clay for millennia, his epic has endured, waiting to share its secrets with the generations that follow. In the sections ahead, we'll follow Gilgamesh as he battles monsters, defies the gods, and journeys to the edges of the known world in search of eternal life. Along the way, we'll see why this ancient story still resonates. Its reflections on friendship, grief, and the search for meaning remain as powerful now as they were 4,000 years ago. The story behind the story. The story of Gilgamesh lay buried beneath the sands of Iraq for thousands of years, forgotten until the 1800s when European archaeologists uncovered its remains in the ruins of an ancient library. What they found was astonishing. A tale from Mesopotamia, the land between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers known today as Iraq. In this cradle of civilization, a real king named Gilgamesh may have ruled the city of Uruk around 2700 BCE. His people lived among towering temples, bustling markets, and skilled scribes who pressed reed stalks into soft clay to record their world. Over generations, they turned their king's memory into a legend that spread across the ancient world. You can find pieces of this story written in at least 3 ancient languages: Sumerian, Akkadian, and Babylonian. The version we know best today was written down around 1200 BCE, but the tale it tells is much older. Early merchants and travellers carried the story far beyond Mesopotamia. They shared it in market squares and royal courts across the ancient world, from Egypt to Turkey and beyond. When British Museum scholar George Smith first translated the epic into English in 1872, he found something truly amazing. The tale felt surprisingly modern, full of friendship, adventure, and the search for eternal life. In one scene, Gilgamesh stands before a tavern keeper named Siduri, asking how to live forever. She gives him wisdom that could have come from any contemporary self-help book. Cherish your loved ones, celebrate life's simple pleasures, and accept that all humans must die. The rediscovery of the Epic of Gilgamesh is still unfolding today. Archaeologists continue to unearth new fragments of the epic, hiding in museum collections or buried in ancient ruins. Some pieces fill in missing scenes, while others show us how the story changed as it travelled from one culture to another. The next sections dive deep into Gilgamesh's adventures with his friend Enkidu, his grief at death's bitter truth, and his quest to live forever. And you'll discover why this tale has endured for 4,000 years, its timeless lessons about what it means to be human. A Tale of Two Friends. Our story opens in the great city of Uruk, where Gilgamesh rules as a young king drunk on his own power. 2/3 god and 1/3 human, Gilgamesh towers 11 feet tall with the majestic beauty of a wild bull. His dark locks flow like the grain god's barley, and his muscles ripple like the sun god's bronze. Despite these divine gifts and incredible strength, he uses them to terrorize his people. No father's daughter is safe from his desires. No wife is free from his demands. He forces the young men of the city to compete in endless wrestling matches for his entertainment. The people of Uruk cry out to the gods for help. The gods hear these prayers and devise a clever plan. The goddess Aruru creates a wild man named Enkidu, formed from clay and blessed with tremendous strength. Enkidu lives far from civilization, running with gazelles and drinking from streams alongside wild animals. His long hair has never been cut and he knows nothing of cities or kings. A trapper discovers Enkidu disrupting his hunting snares. Word of this wild man reaches the temple where the priests send Shamhat, a temple priestess, to help tame him. For 6 days and 7 nights, Shamhat teaches Enkidu about human pleasures and customs. When she finishes, the animals no longer accept Enkidu as one of their own. But he has gained something new: human consciousness and understanding. Shamhat tells Enkidu about the tyrant Gilgamesh, and the wild man's heart burns with desire to challenge him. He travels to Uruk, where they meet in an epic wrestling match that shakes the very foundations of the city walls. Neither man has ever met an equal in strength. The fight ends in a draw, and in that moment of mutual respect, the fiercest of rivalries transforms into the deepest of friendships. The friendship changes both men profoundly. Through Enkidu's eyes, Gilgamesh begins to see how he has misused his power. Through Gilgamesh, Enkidu learns the ways of civilization and kingship. Their experience illustrates a timeless truth. Sometimes it takes a true friend to show us our flaws and help us become better versions of ourselves. Together, they channel their tremendous energies away from oppressing the city and toward heroic quests that will win them lasting fame. But their first great test lies ahead in the distant cedar forest, where a fearsome monster named Humbaba guards the sacred trees. Adventure, loss, and the search for eternal life. The journey to the cedar forest takes the friends through darkness so thick they can barely see their own hands. For 6 days they travel until they reach a mountain paradise where sacred cedar trees pierce the clouds. Here dwells Humbaba, a terrifying monster with the face of a lion, dragon's teeth, and breath that burns like fire. He serves as guardian of these trees for the god Enlil. Despite Enkidu's warnings about angering the gods, Gilgamesh insists on cutting down the sacred cedars to bring glory to Uruk. But this effort brings about a great battle with Humbaba, which shakes the very forest itself. When they finally defeat him, Humbaba begs for mercy, but Gilgamesh shows none. They behead the guardian and fell the finest cedars to build a great raft. This act of defiance seals Enkidu's fate. The gods meet in council and decide that one of the friends must die for killing Humbaba and cutting down the sacred trees. They choose Enkidu, striking him with a wasting illness. For 12 days he suffers while Gilgamesh looks on helplessly. As Enkidu's strength fades, he curses all those who led him from his simple life in the wilderness. But in his final moments, he takes back these curses, recognizing that his journey brought him the precious gift of friendship. Enkidu's death shatters Gilgamesh. For the first time, the king who is 2/3 god confronts the reality that he too must die. Abandoning his kingdom, he lets his hair grow wild and dresses in animal skins. Like anyone having an existential crisis, he abandons rational thought and becomes obsessed with finding a way to change his fate. He sets out to find Upnapishtim, the one human granted eternal life by the gods. Gilgamesh's journey takes him beyond the edges of the known world. He passes through the mountains where scorpion people guard the rising sun. He crosses the waters of death to reach Utnapishtim's distant shore. There, the immortal man tells Gilgamesh a story you might find familiar: how the gods once sent a great flood to destroy humanity, how he built a massive boat to save the animals, and how the gods granted him eternal life for preserving Earth's creatures. This flood story, written centuries before similar tales appeared in other cultures, ends with a challenge. Utnapishtim tells Gilgamesh that to prove himself worthy of immortality, he must stay awake for 6 days and 7 nights. But Gilgamesh, exhausted from his journey, falls asleep as soon as he sits down. The quest for eternal life seems already lost. But Gilgamesh's greatest lesson still lies ahead. The journey home. After failing Utnapishtim's simple challenge, Gilgamesh prepares for his journey home. But the immortal man's wife takes pity on him and urges her husband to share one last secret. Utnapishtim reveals the location of a thorny plant growing at the bottom of the ocean that can restore youth, if not grant eternal life. Though not exactly what he sought, Gilgamesh sees a glimmer of hope. Diving deep into the waters with stones tied to his feet, Gilgamesh plucks this precious plant from the ocean floor. As he travels back toward Uruk, he plans to test it on an elderly person first, but fate has other plans. While Gilgamesh bathes in a cool pool, a serpent smells the sweet fragrance of the plant. It slithers up, snatches it, and in eating it sheds its skin and renews its youth. It is at this moment that Gilgamesh finally breaks. He sits down and weeps. All his struggles, all his journeys, all his pain has led to nothing. He has failed to change the human condition. Now he must return to Uruk with empty hands, but forever changed. Approaching his city's gates, Gilgamesh sees them with new eyes. Where once he saw only walls to boast about, now he recognizes the true genius of their design, the care of the craftsmen who built them, the way they protect and nurture the community within. He notices details he'd missed before, the gleaming temples, the thriving gardens, the lively markets. Back on his throne, Gilgamesh becomes a different kind of king. He no longer seeks glory through force and fear. Instead, he works to strengthen his city's foundations, improve its gardens, and protect its people. He records his journey on clay tablets, not as a boast, but as a lesson for future generations. Most importantly, Gilgamesh comes to understand that immortality already exists in the things we leave behind. In the stories people tell about us, in the buildings we create, in the lives we touch. His friendship with Enkidu lives on in memory. His city stands as a testament to human achievement. Even his tale survives today, carved in clay, telling us that the search for meaning matters more than the search for eternal life. A long legacy. The Epic of Gilgamesh endures as more than just the world's oldest story. Its themes echo through time, speaking to each new generation in surprisingly modern ways. When you read about Gilgamesh destroying the environment for glory, you might think about our own challenges with climate change. His journey from tyrant to wise king mirrors modern discussions about power and leadership. Even his friendship with Enkidu resonates with current conversations about accepting those different from ourselves. The epic's influence ripples through literature across cultures and centuries. You can find traces of Gilgamesh in Homer's Odyssey, where another hero travels to the ends of the earth seeking answers. The flood story appears in religious texts worldwide, from the biblical tale of Noah to similar accounts in Hindu scriptures. Modern writers continue drawing inspiration from the epic. Contemporary novels reimagine Gilgamesh's adventures in new settings, from science fiction futures to modern-day cities. Artists and creators keep finding new ways to tell this ancient tale too. Recent years have seen Gilgamesh appear in video games, graphic novels, and even a rock opera. Each adaptation brings something new while staying true to the core themes that made the original so powerful. A recent animated film portrays Enkidu as an environmental activist, making the Cedar Forest episode a commentary on modern conservation. Popular books about grief and loss often reference Gilgamesh's journey through mourning as a model for processing deep emotion. Scientists and archaeologists continue making discoveries that deepen our understanding of the epic as well. New clay tablets emerge from ancient sites, filling in gaps in the story. Scholars debate the meaning of difficult passages, suggesting new interpretations that shed light on both the past and present. Their work reveals how sophisticated ancient peoples were in tackling life's big questions. The epic speaks with special power to anyone facing loss or questioning their purpose. When you struggle with grief, you might find comfort in knowing that people felt the same pain even 4,000 years ago. When you wonder about your legacy, you can look to Gilgamesh's realization that true immortality lies in how we touch others' lives. When you question the value of friendship, you can remember how Enkidu's love transformed a tyrant into a hero. Perhaps most remarkably, the epic reminds us that humanity's greatest questions remain constant across time. We still wonder about death and meaning. We still balance our desire for power with our need for connection. We still seek ways to live on after we're gone. In sharing these eternal concerns, the Epic of Gilgamesh doesn't just tell us about our past. It helps us understand ourselves and shows us paths toward wisdom that remain as true today as they were 4 millennia ago. The main takeaway of this blink to the Epic of Gilgamesh is that even after 4,000 years, the story still speaks to our deepest questions about life and death. Through Gilgamesh's journey from a tyrannical young king to a wiser, humbler ruler, we see how friendship can transform us, how grief can break and remake us, and how facing our mortality can ultimately teach us what it truly means to live fully. In the end, Gilgamesh comes to understand that immortality isn't found in escaping death, but in the lives we touch and the legacy we leave behind. It's a timeless lesson this epic has carried through the ages. It's not how long we live that matters, but how well we live with the time we're given. Okay, that's it for this blink. We hope you enjoyed it. If you can, please take the time to leave us a rating. We always appreciate your feedback. And we'll see you in the next blink.